So what's up, guys? So I was actually not gonna watch this anime. It's called The Beginning After the End. And so if you guys don't know what this anime is about, I'm gonna read it straight from my anime list. It's called The Story Follows the Strongest King in History, Gray. Although he possesses unparalleled power, wealth, and fame, there is no one who stands by his side, and he trusts no one. One day, Gray suddenly meets his death and is reincarnated as a powerless infant named Arthur in the world of magic, surrounded by loving family and companions. Arthur starts to experience joys in his new life that he never knew in his previous one. However, during her journey, his family is attacked by bandits. Thus begins his second life. So, this anime overall, I was not gonna watch. I wasn't gonna even touch it. I was just not very excited to even download it or continue or to give it a chance, because I was reading a lot of comments online that the animation is just terrible. The animation, the paneling, and all this and whatnot, the pacing is just really off. And while I do agree, like for example, if I was just simply gonna show you a panel like this and it would just zoom in or zoom out, so that's the animation style. Or it would go left from right, pan left, like a B-roll. It'd be like a B-roll. So it's like constant amount of just B-rolling and, just one or two panels here and there. Pretty much 0 FPS. There's like not a lot of animation going on in the first place. So I can honestly understand why a lot of people did not enjoy this anime or think the animation is just really trashy, because I'll be honest with you guys too, I noticed it. It's just very noticeable. A lot of times it's not that noticeable. They do really good animation and the animation just goes up and down, but to me it wasn't all that bad. I feel like a lot of people are being dramatic. But here's the thing, guys. This is why I was able to enjoy this anime. I was honestly really just enjoying it. I've been there. I've done that. I've seen terrible anime. I've seen way worse than this. I've seen animes where I just really wanted to just, I don't know why I even continued watching those animes. I was telling myself, why am I watching this with this horrible animation? But with all things, guys, they have pros and cons, and this one right here, the storyline is carrying it. It's carrying it so hard. So everything has, let me turn that down a little bit. Everything has its pros and cons, and that's not a reason why not to watch this anime. And I honestly have been enjoying it so much due to the self-narration. He's doing a lot of self-narrating, talking about his old life. As you guys have read from the summary, it was I read it on my list, but the source they got it from was from the official site. He used to be a king. He had wealth and fame, but then he died, met his death, reincarnated as a powerless infant, and this whole new isekai. And so it's really gotten my attention. But let's get back to the animation. So yeah, of course, I understand you guys don't want to see this, paneling in and out, going left and right, having shitty B-rolls here and there. And of course, there are times where the animation becomes brilliant, like around here. They just did such a good job with this scene right here. It was over here. As you can see right here, right now, that picture is just paneling. Just paneling, going left from right or right to left. It's just paneling. So I get that. It's very noticeable. But here's the thing, guys. Here's my secret why I was able to enjoy this anime. And this is what I do for every anime, guys. Like I said, I've been there. I've done that. I've seen every type of animation, period. And the thing that I did was I sped it up. That's right, guys. I sped it up, but not to some crazy speed. No. So the normal speed is, normal speed 1.0. All I did was speed it up to 1.10. Do you guys catch that? Write this down, guys. Write this down. So I do this for every anime, not just for this anime. As you can see here, look, this animation is just well done. I don't know where they got this. Maybe they downloaded it from Fiverr. Who knows? By here, a lot of the animation from here was outsourced. Let me see. The studio is Studio Cats. Let's see what kind of animes they've made. So these are the animes they have made. Unfortunately, I guess it's kind of good. I haven't seen any of these animes. But yeah, now I'm watching one of their animes. But anyways, so yeah, guys, I would just speed it up. For some of you guys, you're gonna have to speed it up to 1.25. For some of you guys, you're gonna have to speed it to 1.50. You know what I'm saying? Just to have the animation be just a little bit more bearable. Just a little bit more bearable. Because I get it. The animation, it could be better. It honestly could be. But guys, you guys gotta remember, these anime studios, like the one Studio Cat, it's not like they have a Hollywood budget. And it's weird because I'm pretty sure no one wanted to pick this anime up. If this anime was actually wanted by other studios, they would have been like, you know what? We're claiming this anime. Or perhaps, Studio A Cat was like, hey, we're buying the license for this anime and we're gonna animate it, and they took a chance. They took a chance, and obviously they really didn't do the optimal, animation style. They maybe did outsource it. Who knows? Maybe they hired some Fiverr people or, freelancers. Who knows? If you do know, great. But I hear that they did outsource it to other people, and this is the result. But to me, it wasn't all that bad. Like I said, I'm a veteran when it comes to watching animes. I'm a veteran when seeing animation styles. I'm a veteran when it comes to watching animes, period. I've watched damn near almost 700 animes or even more, but I have pretty much watched over 600 animes, guys. I've put so much time into animes that any type of animation style will not surprise me. And that is why no matter what anime I watch, I put it to 1.10 speed or 1.25, depending if it's the slice of life or, things like this. But of course, I don't always speed things up, guys. This is pro leveling, tips. Sometimes I slow it down. Sometimes I just slow shit down, especially when it's a fight. When you get into fight scenes, they become really, you can't really keep up. So you know what I do? I slow it down. Because I want to see every single detail of the animation. This is one thing you can't do in theaters. The power's in your hands, guys. If I'm pretty sure every single media stream has some type of speed control. Use it. It's there for a reason, guys. And especially you need it for animes, because like I said, guys, not every studio has Hollywood budget. They don't have Hollywood money, and this is a very competitive market when it comes to animes. So, and then of course the anime and the stories themselves. This anime itself is the official source. So yeah, I think it's a manhwa. Yeah, I think it's a manhwa. So yeah, maybe other studios didn't want to touch manhwas. They want to touch actual mangas from Japan. So you can see here, this anime, honestly, the story, the self dialogue has really carried this show. And I've watched 2 episodes, guys. So let's see. Where is it? So I watched episode 2 of this anime. Let's see if I can find the episode 2 source. So of course I download my shit. I download my shit. So in episode 2, there was a fight scene over here, and then it just became very clunky, guys. It just became very clunky. The paneling got worse. Look at this animation style. Of course there's some animation that's really great, but yeah, overall, guys, because I was able to speed it up, that is my secret. I sped it up 1.10, and it just felt more more seamless instead of clunky. But yeah, guys, I would also admit that it's extremely clunky. but I'm in it for the storyline, guys. You know, everything has its good and bad. And the criticisms are, you know, they're valid, probably because they're not using some of these some of these tactics, or maybe they're not that experienced when it comes to animations, or maybe they had their, hopes are way too high. And for some people, they're just masochists. They're just plain up masochists. You know, they know the studio, they know how bad the studio is, and yet they decided to watch it and now are dogging on it, which is fine. To each their own. Whatever your prerogative is, go right ahead. But I took a chance, and I honestly am enjoying it. It was extremely wholesome in episode 1. I just really enjoyed it. And then he's here fighting alongside his parents. He had a loving home with his new family. Like the summary said, this is new to him. He didn't have a home. They showed him he was like in an orphanage. He was an orphan. So Arthur starts to experience joys in his new life that he never knew in his previous one. However, during a journey, his family is attacked by bandits. Thus begins the second life filled with love and adventure. So guys, I am enjoying this anime so much. I can't wait for episode 3. But that is all, guys. Peace.